In March of 2026, Tim Cook told Good Morning America on live television that he could not imagine life without Apple. 1 month later, he announced he was leaving. 15 years as CEO. 15 years of privacy. That's iPhone. And now The Guardian is asking, what exactly did he leave behind? For a decade and a half, Tim Cook positioned Apple as the good guy of big tech. While Google collected your data and Facebook sold it to advertisers, Apple said they were different. They launched app tracking transparency, forcing other companies to ask permission before tracking you. They ran campaigns publicly mocking their competitors. They built an entire empire on 4 words: privacy. That's iPhone. The world bought it. Apple is now a $4 trillion company. But independent investigators started pulling back the curtain. iPhone apps that Apple personally approved were caught violating their own privacy labels. Labels Apple created, Apple vets, and Apple profits from in the App Store. And here's the part that really stings. Some data Apple told you stayed on your device? It was going to the cloud. Not your cloud. Apple's. The privacy framework they used to build a $4 trillion brand was being broken inside their own ecosystem, with their knowledge. Then came Europe. The EU's Digital Markets Act, the DMA, was designed to give consumers real power, more choices, the ability to use competing apps, competing browsers, competing AI assistants on the devices you paid for. Real privacy, real control. Apple's response? They filed an official submission calling the law a privacy threat. The company that built its empire on privacy told European regulators that giving you more privacy control was dangerous. And then they pushed back. Hard. But it gets worse. To fight these rules, Apple did something nobody expected. They teamed up with Google, their biggest rival, the company Tim Cook spent years publicly calling a surveillance machine. Apple and Google stood side by side in front of EU regulators and argued that consumer protections should be blocked. Not because it was bad for users, because it was bad for them. When Apple had to choose between protecting your privacy and protecting their control, they chose control. Here's the reason why. Apple's Services division, the segment that includes the App Store, iCloud, Apple Pay, and every way Apple monetizes its walled garden, generated over $111 billion in just last quarter alone, growing 16% year over year. That ecosystem only works if Apple controls the gates. The moment users have real alternatives, the empire cracks. Privacy was never the product. You were. Today, Apple has been fined nearly $800 million by the EU for breaching digital competition laws. They're under active investigation for DMA non-compliance. The company that told you it was different, that told you your data was safe, that told you to trust the logo on the back of your phone, is being investigated for not protecting the very thing it sold you. Tim Cook is gone. The privacy, that's iPhone. Billboards are still up, and Apple's war against the people trying to protect you is still going. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe, because this is exactly what the Tech Exploit exists to cover. New videos every Monday and Thursday. The stories they don't want you to see.